Hello, Bernadine. Would you mind introducing yourself for our viewers?
Yes, hello, I'm Bernadine Santistevan, and I am a filmmaker and digital artist living in New York City currently, although my home is in New Mexico.
Awesome.
And I'm also the writer, director, and producer of an animated film called Wolf Dog Tales.
Great. Good thing you got that in there. Can you
Yeah.
just tell us a bit about the background for Wolf Dog Tales and what made it particularly interesting for you?
Yeah, so basically, Wolf Dog Tales has ancient wisdoms of what animals teach us about respecting life in the earth. And the stories come from my homeland of northern New Mexico. They come from a mixture of ancient beliefs in the Native American and Hispanic community. My family is Spanish and has been in the area for over 400 years, living among the Pueblo Indians.
Wow.
So we've learned to share a lot of beliefs, and also we brought very ancient beliefs over from Spain when we left Spain during the Inquisition. So that's what the story's based on, and they're actually a series of six little stories in it that weave together throughout the film.
Very nice.
So yeah, and actually, just for some background,
Yes.
the reason I made this is because I have this dog, or had one. His name was Paco Sosa.
Mm.
He was also from New Mexico, and we were together for 20 years.
Wow.
And so it was like, we grew up together. We were kids together, we were grown-ups together.
Yeah.
And then when he hit 18, it was like all of a sudden he slowed down, and it was like I was taking care of my great-great-grandfather.
Mm.
And during that period especially, Paco taught me so much about life.
Mm.
So every story that's actually in the film is something that Paco taught me when we were together, and that I later discovered had direct links to these ancient beliefs from my community in New Mexico.
Mm.
So really, Paco was my inspiration for this film.
Oh, that's beautiful. 20 years is very good for a dog.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, he had a good run.
Wow. Wow, that's very amazing. I'm sure he would have been quite strong till the end as well.
Oh, he was. Yeah, it was great.
Oh,
It was
gosh.
great.
How is the animation for Wolf Dog Tales being received in New Mexico?
Oh, they're loving it.
Yeah.
And in fact, the person who did the music for
Mm.
Wolf Dog Tales, he's a Pueblo Indian.
Yeah. Oh,
He
wow.
lives on the sacred mountain of Taos, mostly traditional life these days, but he's also a two-time Grammy-winning musical artist.
Mm.
He rarely goes out to do anything these days, but when he saw the animation, he was so inspired by it
Mm.
that, he allowed me to get him over here to New York to record the music.
Yeah.
And actually, just so you know,
Mm.
beyond the stories, the actual inspiration for the techniques that we used in the animation, it's based on something called Navajo sand paintings,
Mm.
which is an ancient religious art form among the Navajos of the New Mexico and Arizona area. So really everything within the film that we created, from the stories to the symbols
Mm.
to the music to the style of animation that we created, is inspired by ancient beliefs and ancient traditions and ancient art from the area.
Now, why do you believe animation? How do you think it correlates to these ancient stories, and why do you think it's a good art form to use in telling these stories?
Well, first of all, this is my first and only animated film,
Mm.
although I plan to make many more. And after I wrote the script, I just somehow knew that live action would not work.
Mm.
My prior projects, I'd made two feature films that are live action. I really wanted to pull people into an ancient world with my film, and I just couldn't see how that could happen with live action.
Yeah.
So that's when I started exploring with my animator who I brought on
Mm.
to see what we could discover and how we could create this ancient world. And I know you haven't seen the entire film yet,
I so
but
want to.
people generally just are completely pulled into another time and place. At least, that's what they tell me, and that was our
Mm.
goal. And I
Yeah.
really felt it was only through the animation that we could do it.
Mm.
So that's how I went in that direction.
So, is it still making the film festival circuit at the moment? Is it submitted to film festivals, or how are you
Yes,
promoting and?
Well, actually, we premiered in June of
Yes.
last year, so it's only about 7 months ago, at the Annecy International Animated Film Festival.
Yes.
We were part of the official selection.
Very nice.
I didn't know anything about these festivals, but I learned that
Mm.
that's sort of like the con of animation. So I was
Yes, it
very
is.
honored to be there. And I actually went for the premiere. It was amazing, all the animated works that I saw.
Yeah.
So we've been screening in film festivals since then.
Mm.
And in fact, we were one of, I guess, a list of about 50 films that was on the list being considered for Oscar nomination. We
Oh,
didn't make
beautiful.
it, but oh well,
But
next time
still, yeah,
around.
for nomination, congrats at least.
Yeah, thanks. And we won it. Are you familiar with Comic Con in San
Yes.
Diego? Yeah, we
Yes, I
won
am.
Best Animated Film there, which was pretty exciting.
Awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, so we have been doing the festival route, although at this point, actually since a couple of months ago, I'm not
Mm.
actively seeking festivals to submit it to,
Mm.
because there are a variety of other initiatives surrounding this animated film that we're
Mm.
creating,
Mm.
cross-media initiatives,
Right.
and I need to focus on those. So
Mm.
I'm only showing the film now at festivals who invite me, and especially if they're kids
Mm.
festivals, I really want to reach children with this, even though it's
Yes.
great for adults as well.
Yep.
I'm really, yeah, very focused on kids.
Awesome.
They're gonna save our world for us.
I I agree. That's that's kind of the reason why I'm interviewing you as well, and I call it cultural animation. That's my term for these sort of stories that are told using animation. And every time that even for my own series, Tales from the Nemea, which is based on the myths and legends of Tuvalu in the South Pacific, and they're a sinking nation at the moment. And every time I show it to the public, it's the kids or indigenous people or anybody who's really connected to their heart space. They're the ones who usually get it off the bat, and
Yeah,
especially the kids. They're so curious, and when it's told through animation, there's just a deeper connection that they can get from it, and it's a great way of just re-engaging with those old stories, even with the elders. So well, I'm glad I found you, really. And you
likewise, guys.
and
I
sorry,
I'd
go
love
ahead.
to stay connected.
Yes, yes.
Because yeah, my goal is actually to merge art with ancient wisdoms
Hmm,
to create art that will touch, move, and inspire the world in some way. So I plan on continuing to do this in the
okay.
future.
So are you going to
Yeah.
be expanding the Wolf Dog Tales idea, or are you going to be trying to record other stories um, through
Well,
animation?
both.
Okay.
So, for example, the 6 stories that are included in this particular film,
Hmm.
we're in the process of developing media-based curriculum to get into classrooms to teach kids a variety of things, from all the art components,
Yeah.
the animation, the art of sound, and so forth, to actually mythology, to ancient wisdoms, to the
Beautiful.
aspects about the environment and an endangered species.
Yeah.
So that's one component where we're using the stories that have already been recorded and created in
Hmm.
this film. But then I'm also working at developing an animated television series for children
Hmm.
that will have other stories with other animals. The animal that we focus on in this particular film is a wolf.
Yes.
The wolf is considered to be the great teacher among animals, because
Fantastic.
each animal is believed to have a specific power.
Yes.
So we're focusing on the wolf in this case. But I was able to um, collect a bunch of stories about, the white bear, i.e., the polar bear, the
Hmm.
whale, the snake. I mean, virtually every animal you can imagine is blessed with a particular gift that they bring
Yes.
us. So I'm going to
Yes.
expand on that.
And do you refer to them as totems as well?
No, we don't. In my region, we don't call them totems.
What do you guys refer to them as?
Well, we refer to them as well. We kind of refer to them as fetishes. For let me reach and get you something. So these are
Okay.
from the. Can you see this?
Yes.
This is from the Zuni people pueblo of New Mexico,
Yeah.
and it's a white bear which represents strength and healing power.
Hmm.
So they, in particular, refer to them as the fetishes that represent the powers of the animals. So
Hmm.
I have a bunch of these foxes, turtles, you name it. So they call them fetishes.
Mm.
Yeah, we don't call them totems in my part of the world.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
interesting. Is there a particular reason why they're not referred to as such,
I
or
don't know.
it's just
I,
different?
it's just different. It's just different, I guess. So, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, it as well, with the fetishes. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I don't usually show the viewers. But do you
Uh-huh.
see the poster in the corner?
Oh, yes, yes.
And can you recognize what animal it is?
Is that a wolf?
Yes.
Oh my God. Wow. So you're into wolves also?
Yep. For me, it came around 2007 when I was in New Zealand randomly. Now I'm from the South Pacific, so wolves aren't native here. But
Yeah.
there was a dream I had on my trip to New Zealand, which involved two white wolves. And ever since then, I've just been fascinated with them and all their characteristics. Have also tried to make a part of my own life. So when I saw your work, you can obviously see how I would have been like, ah!
Oh my God. Well, guess what? I mean, what actually started me on this whole journey
Hmm.
is a dream I had with a white wolf.
Ah!
Yeah, yeah. Paco was still alive and he almost died on this one episode. He was turning 20.
Yeah.
And by some miracle, he didn't. And the night I brought him home, I
Hmm.
had this dream with a white wolf that was what led me to make all these stories. And actually,
Goosebumps.
it gets more crazy
Yep.
because when we were making the animated film,
Hmm.
we needed some reference material for
Hmm.
my animator to be able to do the movements of the wolves, and he captured them so perfectly. It's just outstanding, and we couldn't find them on the internet or anywhere.
Yeah.
So I actually flew back to New Mexico, and I convinced some people there who run a wild wolf sanctuary to let me and my camera guy
Ah!
into the grounds.
Yep.
And while he was filming one of the wolves, and I was off in a safe area,
Hmm.
a white wolf, an Arctic wolf that they had there, ran up to me,
Hmm.
jumped on me, licked my face, and ran off. And he caught it on camera. It was like
Goosebumps.
it's like the most amazing experience I've had in my life.
Oh,
Most amazing.
it was
Yeah.
it was meant. It was meant. Ah, that is crazy because that's exactly when even my own work started as well. The interest in preserving ancient indigenous myths and legends, and the ancestors, getting more into the ancestors, even in my own culture. And the more I got involved in my own culture, because I mean, for me, like I'm a third culture kid, so I've been all over the place. And so exploring this identity and exploring all the old stories is just really made me realize how similar and connected all the other indigenous cultures are as well, and how much wisdom they have to share with us. And I know and understand how imperative it is to record these for future generations, and obviously taking it to that next level so that the stories are widely available for I guess the world, and yet still respecting the cultures from which the stories originate as well. And I
Yeah.
think that's why animation is so good, because you can still tell the stories in a creative way, but not have to step over any cultural taboos as well.
Absolutely. And I feel that that's why back home, I was a little bit concerned
Hmm.
that some of we call them cousins in the Pueblo world or the Navajo world, would not appreciate the fact that me as a primarily Spanish
Yes.
was creating this art that touches on their culture as well. But because it's so different
Yeah.
from their traditional work,
Yeah.
they really embraced it because actually it makes it relevant to the
Hmm.
digital age.
Yeah.
So the kids are forgetting, the kids are
Yes.
turning away we're turning away from our culture. So being able to preserve the authentic aspects of it and combine it with some of the contemporary aspects that are
Yes.
relevant to them helps them so much to keep it alive and get excited about it.
Exactly.
So, mhm.
Like especially the younger kids, they're referred to as digital natives because the digital
Yeah.
world, like they're learning how to use iPads before they walk or talk, which is ridiculous. And I see it every time I see like any of the even like my nephew, is able to just operate stuff so quickly and easily. And there was a recent quote that I heard from forgot the name of the guy, but he said when a culture is in trouble, it calls back the outsiders. I think the quote was by Carolyn Casey. And I think, because I mean, even for myself as well, like, because I'm so mixed, you could probably call me an outsider in my own culture. And you know, I've come up with the same problems where, you know, you got to go and ask for permission to tell the stories. But at the same time, there are some who get a bit funny about me telling the stories. And yet, if we don't tell or share the stories, then the culture can die out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting about being an outsider because my family, as I mentioned, had been in this particular area in New Mexico for over 400 years, and you know, usually it's a place that people like me were born there, we live there, and we die there. But I had opportunities to leave when I graduated high school because I was offered scholarships to study all over the world, and I did leave. And after being away and seeing a lot of cultures around the world and seeing their beauty, it also helped me recognize the beauty of my own culture.
Yes.
So when I went back and started working on my first feature film that was based on a legend in our community, I'd been away for quite a while, and my own people were treating me as an outsider. It kind of broke my heart, but you know, I understand. I'd been away. I didn't talk the same. I didn't even walk the same. You know, so it actually took me a while to prove to them that I was an insider. I'd have to sit there and eat cookies. We call them bizcochitos with them, and tell them about my grandfather and my cousin and this and that, so they could make the connections with their people. And it was really interesting. It's really interesting.
And isn't that the role of the teacher pathfinder, though? To leave the community and to explore and then come back with stories to tell.
Oh, yes. And you know, and I know in my case, even show my people, help remind them how beautiful our culture is.
Yes.
We're forgetting it.
Yes.
And in fact, I have a story for you. One of the things that I've been doing is giving free community screenings for children along with discussions.
Yes.
And I did a few of these in northern New Mexico, and I was especially excited about screening the film there to the Native kids because, you know, because of a variety of complex situations there, a lot of the Native kids, including kids from my own community, are losing hope and even becoming ashamed of our cultures.
Oh, yeah.
So I had these screenings there, and after I had my last screening, one of the teachers called me up after her class had returned from seeing wolf dog tales, and she told me that she saw one of her students, a 7-year-old Native American boy, crying, sitting at his desk crying. So she went up to him and she asked him what was wrong. And she told me that he put his hands to his heart and he said, "Teacher, my ancestors are with me now."
Ooh.
I was just blown away.
How old was this kid? How old was this kid?
7 years old. 7 years old. And you know, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I feel you, of course. I feel you on that. It is very, you know, I still get like pleasantly surprised when I hear this from other people, because like same thing happened. I mean, for me as well. Like my great grandfather, he has a saying "Tena lo e fanatu," which meant it will come, and he said that before Christianity made its way into our culture, and because he was well known for, you know, the old ways, and he was asked by, you know, the new generation of Christian converts to take his stuff to the grave. But he said that my mokopuna, or my grandchildren or great grandchildren, one day they will come back wanting to learn more about these ancient ways. And so when he said it will come, it wasn't until I started doing these animations as well that I realized that he was talking about this Return of the Ancestor stuff. You know? And are you familiar with the Idle No More movement that's happening?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
no.
gosh.
Tell me.
Idle No More is this movement that's started in Canada, pretty much with the Indigenous there. And it was a result of the Prime Minister Harper, I think, trying to amend the Indian Act and take away the rights of the indigenous there with the land, air, water, and such. It would essentially give more power to the corporates and the mining companies and such. And I guess they had enough. So it's now turned into a huge, massive movement of indigenous people rallying together and protesting. And it has gone outside of Canada into the United States. It's reached here in Australia. And actually on January 26th, there's an Invasion Day rally. It's supposed to be Australia Day, but the Aborigines are calling it Invasion Day. And so,
Really?
and I'll be joining them. So on Saturday, we'll be doing a march up in the city. And pretty much trying to just voice this really deeply embedded wound, of the indigenous from the, I guess, the invasion of Western countries and cultures. And I don't think, it should be about getting the white person out of our country or something. But I think it's just about acknowledging the wounds that are there and that have been suppressed for so long. And, work like ours, I believe that they're a good way of sort of healing those wounds in a more subtle and less confronting way or manner. Because, these are very long-term initiatives of ours. And, if you get a chance, just take a look at the Yaddle No More movement.
I will. I'll definitely check it out.
It's time, and the whole saying my great-grandfather said, it will come. When I learned about this movement, I was like, damn, it's here. It's already here. All this ancient pain, wisdom, stories, it's all coming. And I keep telling people, just watch this space, and it's happening.
Yeah, I completely believe it. I feel there's like a collective consciousness that's rising up right now around the world. And the more that I had been getting out there with Wolf Dog Tales, the more I have met people that are on the same wavelength, like doing things like this. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And, as I said, for me, like Wolf Dog Tales is just the tip of the iceberg. I have so many other big things planned to really reach out to the world and especially reach children and help our Mother Earth, through what I'm doing and children and humanity. So it's very exciting time for this. Yeah.
Oh,
completely.
It's right place and right time, huh? If there was anything, obviously the animation process itself. Because you wrote the story and you had the animator, was it Igor?
Yes.
Igor, and I recognize that name. Are you familiar with, the work that he did and anything that he wished he was told before starting on this project? Or is that a question for him?
Well, that's probably a question for him, but I would say that he'd never done sand art before.
Yes.
And so this was a first for him, and I do know that he was quite excited about the possibility of doing something of this nature, especially since this enabled him to actually develop new animation techniques that have never been done before. So we've labeled them faux sand painting animation.
Nice.
And so he's the inventor of that, which is pretty exciting for him.
That is cool.
And it was just, I saw some of the work that he had done before on the internet, things that he showed me, but that wasn't why I decided to work with him. I decided to work with him because we had a conversation and I was explaining to him sort of the heart and soul of what I wanted to do. And he just kind of suddenly stopped and he said, I often feel that I relate more with animals than I do even with human beings. That I just have more of a connection with them. And when he said that, I knew he was the person I needed to work with.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't so much about the technique, even though I was pretty sure he was good at what he did.
Yeah.
It was also important for me to bring someone on board who would understand the heart and soul of what I wanted to create, and not just a technician.
Yes.
And he did. So he's a true artist in his heart, and an amazing animator as well. So it was really, and it was really a magical experience working with him because we had no idea. When we started talking, we didn't even know that we were going to be using sand animation. We were
Yeah.
just talking about the concepts. And it was later that in learning more about New Mexico, he actually suggested, well, you have this Navajo sand painting there.
Mm.
What about that? So in fact, he was the one that brought me to it. And
Beautiful.
all along the way, it was just a process of discovery,
Mm.
because each story that we did, had a very different and profound meaning to it.
Mm.
And so we had, even though it was all sand animation, we were discovering different ways of approaching it with the sand. So it was
Mm.
always about the artwork serving the story.
Awesome.
And I think that that's where a lot of animators, so I've been learning, diverge because a lot of times it seems like animators are just focused on technique,
Mm.
cool technique and so forth, and they forget about the story. And the story is the heart and soul. If you don't have that, then I don't know, maybe you have great technique, but it
Yeah.
doesn't make something that necessarily will touch, move, and inspire.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was magical working with him. It was true magic. It was true magic.
Oh gosh. It is. You pretty much answered all the questions I was gonna ask, anyways. Um,
Okay.
I feel like saying, is there anything else you'd like to tell me about? Any stories you want to share?
Well, actually, just one other thing, working with the musician Robert Mirabel,
Yes.
that blew me away. Once again, Robert is a native Taos Pueblo
Mm.
Indian,
Yeah.
and he I've never seen anything like that. When he came into New York and we went to the studio, literally we broke the film into the 6 stories,
Mm.
and he had about a dozen of his handmade flutes there. He brought a powwow drum, shakers, a few, and used vocalizations. But he just looked on the screen at the video for that segment once,
Mm.
and then all of a sudden he'd be pulling his flute out, and we'd be recording. It was like a one take. He
Yeah.
recorded flute,
Yeah.
then we'd go through and he'd do the shakers, and then it's like his instinct.
Yes.
It's like watching. It's like a wolf.
Mm.
The wolves have, all animals, such an amazing instinct. They don't need to think about it. They feel it and they know what
Yes.
to do.
Yeah.
And that was him. Was watching the most beautiful creature in the world in that
Mm.
moment create this magical music. It was just out of this world. I've never seen anything like it before.
And
Truly magical.
I think it's even better that you did use Pueblo Indians as well in the creation of the film, because I think there needs to be that respect for the native artists and bringing that to be part of the story, because it's all tied, like the language, the songs, it's all tied to the cultures and the stories, so it becomes that much more authentic as well when you are able to utilize them.
Yeah, that was important to me. And then
Mm.
also the idea that, well, the symbols inside the story that we use, they come from a variety of Native Americans
Mm.
across the United States.
Okay.
Um, so for me, part of it was also, it's like we're in it together.
Mm.
We're in it together, all of us. So I'm primarily Spanish with a little bit of Pueblo blood in
Yeah.
me, but mostly Spanish. Then we had the Pueblo Indian aspect of it, the
Mm.
Navajo aspect, and then we had symbols that come from the Cherokees, the Apaches, the Pueblos, and Navajos. It's like we're all in it together, and I feel like if we would pull more together, we could get much further in this world in terms
Yes.
of our voices being heard. So yeah.
I agree with you. um, Thank you so much for taking the time to do
Thank you.
this interview. This will definitely be going out to my networks. I think it needs to be heard. The type of work that you're doing, that we're doing for our future generations,
Yes.
the work with the kids. I wish you best of luck as well, and
Thank you.
I will definitely be talking to you again, anyways. Probably even
Yes,
right
it's
after
been
this
time.
interview. um, but thank you once again. And is there any URL you'd like to give a shout out for people who are watching this?
Wolfdogtales.com. So you can come learn more about the film, and get on my mailing list, emailing list there. So yeah,
Definitely
come
get
visit.
on it. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Bernadine.
Thank you. Thank you.